All right. All right, let's get started. Thank you everybody for being here. I appreciate your time. I know there's not much to spare, so I'm glad you chose to be with us this morning. We'll make your time worthwhile. I'm Joel Kaplan. I'm the co-founder and chief operating officer of SimSci. I wear many hats, but at this moment, I'm really excited to introduce you to Breanna. Breanna and Michelle are both with the Upstate Crime Analysis Center, who's partnering with SimSci, and both of us are working on a project in partnership with Microsoft to deliver training programs and learning content within SimSci's Action Hub and available and accessible to everyone in the US and around the world. In particular, we're going to have some additional upcoming webinars and some workshops, so please stay tuned and we'll have some advertisements with links to register for those. We're going to do this in a way that allows for the presentation to flow, and then we will have some Q&A at the end. If you have any questions or really need some clarification, raise your hand. We'll be monitoring the chat window, but we will be sure to come to and answer all of your questions at the end. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Breanna and let her introduce herself and her presentation and get going. Breanna, it's all you.
Thanks, Joel. So I talk with my hands, so I'm going to mute my video because I know that can be distracting to the presentation. So welcome, everyone. Good morning. I am Breanna Haney, and as Joel said, I am the director of the Upstate Crime Analysis Center. I am also an instructor of criminal justice at USC Upstate, where I teach our crime analysis concentration as well as our crime analysis professional certificate. And this webinar is just the first in a series that we're offering as part of this project with SimSci and Microsoft. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about, as analysts, how do we transition from a support role to a strategic partner within our agency? But first, we're going to start with something a little fun. So if you scan the QR code, it should take you to a poll. And it's going to ask you, if you had to name your pet after a crime analysis term, what would you name it? And let me see if I can get the poll pulled up here. Are you guys able to see the poll? Nice spot, hot spot. We'll give it a few more seconds. Yeah, yeah, nice. Map, theft, link. Okay. Thumbs up from my co-host that y'all can see my PowerPoint slide again. Okay, thank you. So this is Hotspot. If I had to name my pet after a crime analysis term, I picked a Dalmatian and it would be named Hotspot. Though I will say I was talking to a friend, analyst friend last night who sent me a picture of her really overweight dog and said that she would name it Colonel Density. I thought that was like really offensive to Watkins, so I did not put Watkins' photo on this presentation, but I did want to share that. But why did I start with that? Why did I start with a joke, a game to kind of lighten the mood? Because even as analysts, even in crime analysis, personality matters. People connect with you when you're approachable, when you kind of illustrate that you're a human too. You're not just that nerd behind the desk. That you can bring a little humor to the table. And when you do that, you build relationships with the people that you're working with. And so that's kind of step one. from for you when you transition from support to strategic. And like I said, that's part of the journey. Being a person, showing your personality, that is part of this journey that we're going to talk about today. So this presentation is not about me, but I do want to preface kind of my background, what I do now, what I've done previously, because it's going to give you some context into my insights and my experiences and in my transition from support to strategic. So, like I said, currently I'm the director of the Upstate Crime Analysis Center. The UCAC is inward and outward facing. We support our students. We support law enforcement across our 10-county region in upstate South Carolina. And I also support the community because a lot of our events and training is open to the public. Just like a lot of the things that we're going to offer on this project with SIMSI and Microsoft are open to the community. So I work, within our university and then outward as well. But before joining USC Upstate, I was a crime analyst, technically a data analytics specialist, if we're getting formal here, at Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. I supported a lot of different people in a lot of different units. Freedom Division, which is a geographic jurisdiction, a division within the, big CMPD service area. I also supported aviation, which is the helicopter team, specialized units like crime gun suppression team, assault with deadly weapon team. You'll see that a lot of the work that I did focused on juvenile and gang-related shootings, which means that I also worked extensively on NIBIN analysis. And I say all that to kind of preface that I supported a lot of people and a lot of teams, and I first started as a support staff person. But I quickly realized that wasn't going to work to get the job done and to be happy doing what I was doing. And to have a real impact for myself on my professional growth and the people that I was supporting, I needed to respond more than just answering their questions and responding to their requests. I needed to become a partner to them. So another poll, this is the last poll in the presentation, but what does a strategic partner in your agency mean to you? What does that look like? I think we all understand the value of it. The kind of sales pitch of why you need to go beyond a support staff is a whole other presentation. Today we're going to talk about how to kickstart that. But what does a strategic partner mean to you? Mutual respect, resource allocation. Give it a few more seconds to share your thoughts. Being helpful and useful. Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about that. Valued. Trusted. Yes. Yes. These are all great things. And some of them we're going to touch a little bit more on throughout this presentation. Thumbs up again for my co-host. You can see my presentation again. Thank you. Okay, so how do we get there? In my opinion, there are three things that kickstart being a strategic partner, and they build off each other. So first, building stronger relationships and rapport with the people and units that you support. Building rapport does not mean that you have to be a policing expert or that you have to have sworn experience or that you have to engage in the inappropriate jokes that your detectives and officers, throw out there sometimes. It simply means, in my opinion, showing up, being consistent, following through, and communicating even when you fall short. In the analyst world, we talk about proving ourselves. And in my opinion, proving yourself means that you can be trusted and that you should be respected. And you show that by showing up, being consistent, following through, and communicating. And you can do that. You can build strong relationships and rapport by using formal and informal engagements. We're going to talk a lot more about this later on, but think of like meetings, roll call, group chats, even hallway cut-ups and conversations. These are ways that you can stay in the loop. And third, which is a byproduct of using formal and informal engagements to build stronger relationships and rapport, then you can deliver timely and relevant analysis and products. This is also going to help you prove yourself. It's also going to prove that you can be trusted and that you should be respected and that you can have a mutual benefit in the work that you are doing and how it's being how it's actionable on the streets to your officers, detectives, investigators, and command staff at the higher level. So, how do we actually do this? How do we actually in practice build stronger relationships? And how do we use those formal and informal touch points to deliver better analysis? Being a strategic partner does not happen overnight. It doesn't happen in your sleep. It's built through intentional, strategic, and repeated touch points. Again, we all know trust and access in our agency does not happen overnight. It doesn't happen with a snap to our fingers, but it happens through small things, such as roll call. There's a myth, or maybe it's my myth, that roll calls are just for officers. They're not. They are a golden opportunity for analysts. Listen, y'all, we can put on our sunglasses and put on our sunscreen. We can break out of the office. We can get out from under our blanket and our heater and our snacks, and we can go to roll call. Because when you sit in, even if it's just once a week, once a month, or even once a quarter, you hear things that never made it into formal CAD or incident reports. You hear about officer observations, details that may not surface until later on. But when you hear them in roll call, you're getting that leg up. You're getting that awareness way before it may be in a report, or maybe it's never even seen in a report. You also kind of get some lighthearted stuff too. When I went to roll call, I learned about this really shady food truck at this Walmart complex, but man, they had the best tacos, the best tacos. So you're also getting, intel on good places to take your family to eat on Friday night too. But like I said, you're getting early awareness for things that could help you build productive and timely analyses. This is also relationship building. This also helps you build rapport. It's a professional advantage to you. Officers see you, they know what you look like, they learn your name. When they see that email from you in their inbox with this amazing product that you've built that's going to help them, eliminate crime somewhere or prevent crime or reduce crime, they know it's from you because they've seen you at roll call. You're not just a name in an inbox that's quickly filled up. But you got to start small. Like I said, attend once a week, once a month, or even once a quarter. And you should always introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Breanna. I'm your analyst for Freedom Division. I'm here to help you. You may have seen my name in your email. This is who I am. This is what I do. Give me a call if you need me. I am here to help you. But also remember that this is their meeting. This is their gig. And so you're at first just there to listen and observe. Don't add pressure. Be low key. Maybe you sit in the back of the room at first and just take in what they're talking about. Then later on, as you've built that trust, as they start to respect you a little bit more, then maybe you bring a map or a recent product that you've developed to talk about so they can really see firsthand the value that you can add to them. A few considerations. How often will you attend? Like I said, attending every roll call is very unrealistic for you and them. Maybe, like I said, it's once a week, every 2 weeks, whatever fits your schedule and is going to be best welcomed by them. You should also consider what shift you're going to attend. Are you always attending first shift, or maybe you vary it up? And maybe for once in a blue moon, maybe you attend third shift because that's when the most violent crime in your division is happening. And you want to see what they're talking about at third shift roll call too. Next is ride-alongs. This is one of the best ways to build credibility and rapport with your officers. I think this is one of the most influential ways to kind of break down that stereotype that we are nerds behind a desk. Because when you spend 8 or 12 hours in a car with someone, it's likely that you're going to crack a joke with them. You're going to laugh. You might even share something personal about your life. Maybe that your kid won the T-ball tournament last weekend, or, for me, I found a new German restaurant this past weekend that I love. When you spend that long of time in a car with somebody, you're probably going to share a little bit beyond the professional world. And that's important because as much as we are nerds behind a desk, we're also human. And that's how you connect with people. And that's how you're going to connect with the people that you support. So when you go on ride-alongs, they're noticing and they're realizing, they're having that epiphany that, man, she's not just that nerd who's, attending church that, maybe I don't really understand just yet. But now I know who she is, and now maybe I might ask for some clarity on that product, or I might reach out to her and see if she can help me with something that I'm having trouble with, or, see if she can, help me with, again, that Walmart plaza that we're having a lot of violent crime in. Again, it also gives you firsthand insight. You're seeing things with your own eyes. It's explaining things that you're seeing in the data. Again, they might share something that's going to give you a leg up, that's going to give you that awareness before it even is seen in a formal report. It's going to benefit you. Quick story of also how it's going to benefit you. When I went on my first ride along, we responded to a homicide in a graveyard. I thought it was going to be the best day of my life. I was really hoping for some excitement. And as I was standing there, we got out of the car. He told me to exit the vehicle and get out of the car with him. And they actually pronounced the victim dead on the scene as I was standing there. I really couldn't believe it. And for a split second, I was like, wow, like this is so fun. Like maybe I should be a cop. But then for days, I did not sleep from that adrenaline rush. I couldn't work. I couldn't sleep. And I was like, no, this is confirmation that I'm supposed to be that I'm supposed to be an analyst. So not only does it benefit you in your professional world, it also is probably likely going to confirm that you are where you're supposed to be. Like I said, when you crack jokes, when you share, things about your professional or personal life, it shows your personality. And it also gives you that firsthand insight. Though, this was my favorite ride along with the aviation unit. They actually circled around my house, and my neighbors texted me telling me that the cops were circling my house. So I had to assure them that I was not like a fugitive on the run. But this also, I learned the mechanisms of the helicopter, which may seem totally unrelated to analyst work, but bi-weekly, I produced a report of hotspots of property crime amongst the whole CMPD jurisdiction. And I called out specific intersections that they should kind of surveil in the helicopter. But I realized that the span and the sight of that helicopter spanned way larger than an intersection on a road or a highway. So I was able to learn a little bit about, when they're up in the air, what they're doing, how, what the degree of the turn of the helicopter is. And I was able to adjust my product from that. I needed to span those intersections out a little bit further. because whenever they were right on top of each other, that helicopter is just doing one big swoop. They're not able to kind of separate their surveillance when they're so close together. So that was just an example of, when you do a ride along, you're probably going to learn things about parts of their job that you didn't know, and likewise about the work that you do. So now let's talk about command staff and investigative meetings. So now we're kind of working up a little bit higher than the officer level, and roll call and a ride along. And we're talking about command staff, and kind of executive level meetings. So these are also critical for analysts because you're looking at a window into the priorities of the higher level. You're going to see what needs they have. You're going to see what's coming down the pipeline. You're going to see what the bigger picture is beyond what you saw on the beat during that ride along or in roll call. Maybe it's not realistic that you go to every one of these meetings because they're probably happening at least once a week, maybe more than once a week. So maybe you just attend when they're talking about summer safety plans or holiday operations or, beginning of the year directives. Or, if there's something big going on in your jurisdiction, like a tactical operation from a specialized unit, maybe that's one that you definitely need to be at. You also have to prioritize based on what's hot. Depending on the units and the teams that you support, especially if you are a solo analyst or part of a small analytic team, you have to see what's hot in your jurisdiction. If auto crimes are super hot right now, you need to be at the auto crimes meeting. If it's the beginning of the year, you need to be at that command staff planning meeting. Like I said, it's not realistic for you to go to every single one of these, but you have to prioritize what's hot, where are you needed, where can you provide analytical support, what needs analytical presence. And those are the meetings that you need to be at the table. When I was supporting the crime gun suppression team, they had a standing meeting every Tuesday morning. And everyone, all of the detectives within that unit, they would go around the room and they would all share what they were working on that week, who they were going after, who was going to help them, when they were going to do it. And they would also share what they needed from my team. But this was also a time that we could chime in and say, hey, we sent you that workup last week. Like take a look at it, see if you need anything else beyond what we already gave you. Inboxes fill up quick, and sometimes you've already done the work, but they just missed it. So when you're there, you're able to kind of give that insight into, hey, look at it, see what else you need. It's also a time that maybe you haven't produced a formal product yet, but you have some insight into that. Hey, so and so is hanging out with this group. Hey, but they're exchanging firearms, quite frequently. So you might want to also look into this group. Maybe that hasn't been formally put in a product yet, but you know that. So you can share that with them in the meeting. Another thing for specifically large agencies is sometimes in these meetings, it's the only time that different divisions or different beats are in the same room. And while if you're the auto crimes analyst, may have the bigger picture of the entire jurisdiction of auto crime, when the captains of just those single divisions, they may not have the bigger picture. They may not know that it's a cross-jurisdictional problem because they're only focused on their division. And so when you're in the room, you can call that out. You can say, hey, this is a bigger problem. This is not just a Freedom Division auto crime issue. This is a CMPD jurisdiction service area problem. Whereas if you weren't in the room, that may not have been brought to light. Again, just like I said about roll call, ride-alongs, start small. Again, this is their meeting. Getting you into these meetings is going to take time. Don't just walk into the Monday morning meeting and be like, hey, I'm here. Of course, you should ask and be strategic about it. Hey, would it be helpful if I sat in on this one? Or which type of meetings would benefit, from me being there, from there being an analytical presence in the room? One of the last opportunities or touch points, as I like to say, is access to group chats, radio channels, and listservs. Um, these provide real-time intel to you, and you can provide live intel support to them. I'll share a quick example here. One time, our crime gun suppression or their crime gun suppression team was looking what they thought a maroon SUV. They got behind a purple SUV and they were about to let it go. But when I ran the tag back in the office, I was able to see that no, that's the one that we want. Don't let him go. And here's the connection. Whereas if we wouldn't had access to that radio channel, they were going to let their guy go because we had the color of the SUV wrong initially. Another example is before we got added to a group chat or radio channel, we were looking for a specific individual, and we had just been asked to do an additional workup on grandma and grandma's boyfriend and their cars because we were having a hard time locating them. However, about 5 minutes after that request came in, they arrested the individual that we were looking for. They found him. However, back at the office, we spent 3 more hours working on that workup for grandma and grandma's boyfriend and their cars. When really, at that point, by the time we sent it, they had already interviewed him at the LEC. He was already in custody, but we didn't know that. So if we had been in that group chat and saw the, hey, we got him, we're 1017 back to the LEC, we would have known, okay, we can take this off our list because thankfully they were able to get him in custody. So it saves hours of unnecessary work because we can't be there with them, on these ops, on these tactical ops. So this is our way of being in the loop of what's going on in real time. You've seen this a lot in these touch points is observe. Don't over participate because this is their deal. This is their group chat. Keep a low footprint, but also don't be hesitant to chime in when it's needed. Like in that maroon purple SUV example. I very rarely went over the radio, but that was one time that I did and it needed to be done because that was our guy. So have a low footprint, but participate when it's needed. And I promise you that you're gonna share things with them on the radio or in a group chat, and they're gonna be like, yeah, dude, we already knew that. And you're gonna be, that's fine. It just shows that you're paying attention to what they're doing, that you are monitoring these things that they've given you access to. It's okay if they already knew it because it's better than maybe holding back and not sharing something that would make a real impact on that operation. So how do we get access to these spaces, these group chats, these radio channels, these listservs? Again, start small. Don't demand. Maybe frame it as, hey, I've heard a lot of talk, and roll call about this group chat, or that we're sharing updates on these tactical ops in this group chat. Would it be appropriate for me to get added so that I can also, offer you guys intel support as things unfold in real time? So moving forward, I've talked about quite a few things, building relationships, and you do that by these informal and formal touch points. And when you do these things, you can deliver, better analysis because you're getting awareness before it's in a formal report. They're showing that you're a human, you're sharing your personality, you're showing that you can help them, and then they're wanting to use you as well. So this week, or let's just say in the month of October, here's a challenge. Attend one roll call. Join one command staff or investigative meeting. Get added to maybe one of those electronic information sharing modes. One group chat, get added to a radio, maybe request to have a radio at your desk, or maybe it's shared within the whole analytical unit. And if you're already doing these things, better implement them into your product. Maybe create a product based on something that you have observed in roll call or in one of those investigative meetings. But you should also know your 10 codes. Because when you are a part of these environments and you're attending these meetings, they're going to talk probably in a language different than what you talk with your coworkers and your analytical unit. So one time my coworker didn't know her 10 codes and she agreed to back up a traffic stop on the weekend because she didn't know what that 10 code meant. So this is also a way to build rapport with your folks. So know your 10 codes. So that is all I have for you on how we transition from a support role to a strategic partner. We need to be in the rhythm of the agency. It's like a business partnership. You don't just call them when you need money. You're there at the table from day one until the end of that tactical operation. You need to be in the rhythm of that agency and that unit. Are there any questions? My contact information is on the screen, as well as my LinkedIn and our UCAC LinkedIn.
If anyone has any questions, you can unmute and ask, or you can type them in the chat or question dialog boxes. We'll give you a few seconds to get the courage.
I'll also, while you're thinking, informing your question, hopefully, I'll advance to the next slide, which just includes some information on our future work on the project with SIMC and Microsoft. You'll see on Monday at the same time, 11 a.m. Eastern, Dr. Michelle Covington is going to be doing our second webinar in the series. So if you haven't registered for that, you can do that here too. And then on December 11th, we're still in the planning phase, so more details will be coming out, but you'll have an in-person event in Greenville, South Carolina. It'll be a training on data-informed community engagement and action and collaborative crime prevention. That's also a part of the work that we're doing with SIMC and Microsoft.
All right, I don't see any questions, but you have all of our contact information. And if you have any questions that you want to follow up with, please reach out to anyone you'd like on this call or the generic contact page at simc.com. But please reach out to Breanna and pick her brain. She also has a course that's being designed as part of this Microsoft and UCAC and SIMC project that will be freely available in the Action Hub, which is also freely available. So if anybody would like to get access to this information through that, please reach out to us at simc.com on the contact form, and we can get your Action Hub set up, and you'll get direct access to the Learning Center with both Breanna's and Michelle's courses that are being loaded as we speak. Michelle, would you like to add anything from the center side?
Not from the center. I just appreciate Breanna and all the information she brought for us. And thank you, Breanna, for going first in our series of trainings and resources and being the guinea pig for us. Next Monday, for the second webinar, we are going to talk about how crime analysis can fit into any agency size. So that's geared mostly toward police leaders and decision makers, but might also be some good practical information for others in the field. So hopefully you can join us for that. Spread the word.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Andy and Joel, and all of you on the call.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a good rest of your day.
You
Bye.
too.